Hey guys, okay. So we are jumping into lesson 11. And in lesson 11, we start a new content area. So right now we are trying to figure out ratios of fractions and their unit rates. So before we've just been doing ratios and unit rates of whole numbers. So now we're going to get a little tricky and do fractions. So when we do fractions, there are actually a lot of different ways we can solve. And so I'm going to make a little video about each one so that you guys can kind of see what makes the most sense to you and choose how you're going to finish out the rest of your lessons. So I'm going to start with the table approach because we've been working with tables a lot. So right now we have the question, during their last workout, Izzy ran 2.25 miles in 15 minutes. And our friend Julia ran 3.75 miles in 25 minutes. Each girl thought she was the fastest runner. Based on their last run, which girl is correct? So this one says use any approach. So I'm going to solve it first with the table approach. And so I'm going to insert a table. And I'm going to do a spot for time in minutes, spot for time in hours, and a spot for distance. And I'm just going to go ahead and say we're going to do like 5 different times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to insert that one. But I'm going to want that a little smaller because this is just for Izzy. And then I need to make one for Julia as well. So I'll make that smaller. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to insert another table and I'm going to make it that same size. So 3 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then again, I want to make that a little smaller. I'm going to try to get them all on the same line so you guys can see it a little better. But I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, that does not want to work. So we're just going to go down like this. So I'm going to say this one here is Izzy. And this one is Julia. And so we have time in minutes. Time in hours. And distance in miles. And it'll be the same for Izzy. Okay, so I'm going to start with Izzy because she was the first one we gave. So she had 15 minutes. It said she went 15 minutes, right? So I'm going to just go up by 15 minutes until I fill this. So 15, 30, 45, 60, and then 75. And Julia was 25 minutes. So 25. And I'm going to just keep going up by 25, 50, 75. And I'm just going to leave it at 100 because I see that Izzy has a 75 and Julia has a 75. So once we figure those out, it'll be pretty easy to see who was faster. So then again, I'm going to go with Izzy here. And to find out my time in hours, I'm going to have to be a little, I have to think. So 15 minutes and an hour is 60 minutes. So that is going to be my fraction, which I can then reduce down to 1/4. That's a quarter of an hour. 30 minutes over 60 minutes in an hour, which that is 1/2. And then I'm going to go to 45 out of 60, which is 3/4 of an hour. And then 60 minutes of 60 minutes equals 1 whole hour. And then 75 minutes over 60 minutes. That, let's see, I see there's a 60 and a 15, so that's going to be 1 1/4 of an hour. Let me do the space in there so you can see that a little better. So once I have Izzy's times in, I'm going to go ahead and do Julia's times as well for her hours. So 25 over 60, that is going to be equal to 5/12 of an hour. So it's going to be a little tricky, but you guys can always just reduce as much as possible and see what you get. And then we're going to have 50 out of 60, which equals 5/6 of an hour. And then you have 75 out of 60, which then again is that 1 1/4 of an hour. And then 100 out of 60 is going to be 1 2/3 of an hour. So now that we have that filled out, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and we will start with the miles. Okay guys, so now that we have all of our time and in minutes and in hours filled out, we're going to go ahead and look at distance. So Izzy ran 2 1/4 miles in 15 minutes. I'm just going to plug that in right there. So at 15 minutes, she ran 2 1/4 miles. All right, so when we're going from 15 to 30 minutes, she goes up another 1/4 of a mile. So I'm going to have to add another 2 1/4 miles. So that's going to be 4 1/2 miles. All right, and then going up another 1/4 of a mile to get 3/4 of a mile, we're going to have to add another 2 1/4 miles. So we're at 6 3/4 of a mile. And then at 60, we're adding another 2 1/4 miles, so we're at 9 miles. And then 75, you're adding another 2 1/4 miles, so you're 11 1/4 miles. Then we're going to go over to Julia. And Julia, we know she ran 3 3/3 of a mile at 25 minutes. So at 15 minutes, we have to add another 3 3/4 of a mile, which is 7 1/2 miles. At 75 minutes, we have to add another 3 3/4 of a mile. So that's another 11 1/4 of a mile. At 100 minutes, that's another 3 3/4. So that it will be 15 miles total. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and leave you guys some time to think. And then I'll add another video that talks about how we know which girl was right. Make sure you're thinking of some solutions here.